You're listening to Season 2 of the GriefSense podcast. I'm your host, Mimi Gonzalez, aka the Zillennial Griever. I am a creative, entrepreneur, social impact strategist, and community organizer based in Hartford, Connecticut. But most importantly, I am a griever. GriefSense is really a safe space for creatives who are grievers. And I really created this space because it's something I wish I had. And sometimes you have to create the things that you wish existed. I am a serial griever where I've experienced significant loss, losing about 20 people before I turned 25 years old. And it was really hard to find community, people who looked like me in the death positive movement space. On the show, you'll mainly hear from Gen Z and millennial minoritized grievers, but you'll also have some advocates on the show who share our experience, but also want to amplify our voices and our stories. So what is GriefSense? What does that even mean, right? It's not just some fancy name of a brand of the podcast, okay? It's actually a term that I've coined to name my experience. Sometimes the words that exist in our vernacular aren't really representative of our lived experience. And so thus GriefSense was born. So GriefSense to me really is an inner sixth sense and intuition that's unlocked after experiencing physical loss, and it inspires purpose through creative expression, hence grievers who are creatives. So we do this in three ways. One, we embrace our mantra, which is we live life as a privilege. Two, we honor our ancestors and the legacies of our loved ones who have died. And three, we not only normalize talking about grief and death and everything in between, but we really talk about the importance of planning for our death and talking about this in community with our families. What are our death care wishes? And really normalizing that, because that is not something that we typically do in our very death phobic world. I hope that when you tuned into these episodes that you feel super comfortable. I want you to think that you are in a living room, or in Spanish we say the sala, but the grief sala. And I hope that you're able to have tea in your hand or a cafecito, so that way you're comfortable. I want you to feel like you're talking to your best friends or your primos or your cousins, people who really understand you and get it. And if you are not a griever, and if you are here to learn and listen to the stories that are shared on the show, thank you so much for being here. Your voice is important too, because guess what? If you're not a griever now, unfortunately, you will be one day. And I'm hoping that the insights that you hear on the show will help you navigate that experience. One thing I wanted to also share, y'all, GriefSense is always going to be lowercase, because death, grief, all of that, it can be really scary. So these conversations is to really destigmatize death and grief, and really making sure it's like relatable, digestible, accessible. And yeah, it can be scary for sure, but let's do it together. Let's be in community together. So with that, welcome to the movement, welcome to La Familia, and welcome to GriefSense. Let's dive in. Welcome back, listeners of GriefSense. I am so excited to have you join us for yet another episode. Today, we have Kat Primeau with us, and I cannot wait for you all to hear her story. She, similar to me, is a serial griever, and this is someone I describe as someone who's experienced a lot of loss and just has kind of dealt with a lot of trauma throughout their life. And me and Kat were talking before we hopped on to record that how much we have in common in regards to being creative and really trying to educate people on the death positive aspect of what we do. And really, and when we talk about this, there's a word that we all hear, body positive, right? It's the same thing, death positive, but instead of obviously your body, you're just really embracing that grief, death, dying. It's literally all a part of our human lived experience, and we're just shedding light about it in a really creative and lighthearted way. So me and Kat definitely bond over that, and I think you'll learn that pretty soon, and I can't wait for you all to meet her. So without further ado, Kat, welcome, and please feel free to introduce yourself to the people.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mimi. I wanted to say that what made me know that we were going to connect was listening to your podcast and hearing you just like spontaneously singing. Um, Like,
LOL.
there's just like always a song kind of in the ether that's like, I need to sing this right now. And I have that affliction as well. So, yes,
Love it.
that death positivity, right? Talking about it doesn't make it happen. It just makes it happen with less stigma and more community support. So, yeah, I'm Kat Primeau, and I am an artist and a grief doula. I live in LA and I provide services IRL and also online around grief support, ritual guidance, and downsizing, death cleaning, kind of support with the transitions of life and helping people integrate pain and love and find meaning using creative modalities. This is kind of my favorite way to access those avenues of discovery and resilience and growth and all the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, y'all know why I had to have Kat on the show. So clearly, clearly fits right into the grief sense familia. So yeah, so Kat, every episode, as you know from listening to the podcast, we really like to call our people into the space to just set the tone, set the vibe, and it also helps, people listening in and is a reminder, like let's say the names of the people that have died in our lives. Let's say their names, let's honor their memory and just make this a daily practice. And so with that, is there anyone that you would like to call into the space? And I'd love to help celebrate them with you.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to celebrate. I actually logged onto Facebook earlier and saw, you know, that familiar feeling of logging onto Facebook and your dead friends having a birthday, or loved one. Yeah, right. So today is my friend Kelly Armbruster's birthday, and we were college friends and roommates, and she was so fun loving and would always say loves it, and just go on little adventures in college when you're still just doing so much exploring and finding yourself. So I'd like to honor Kelly and her life. We don't have to go into the
Yeah.
loss necessarily, but um, I'm learning a lot since that was like 16 years ago, and feeling very happy to be able to look back on that loss and see it now from a more mature lens, and
Mm,
to recognize the disenfranchised grief and um, the lack of support structures around that loss in college and on that level. So, yeah, all of Kelly's loved ones and friends and people, I honor you and I honor Kelly today.
mm,
Happy birthday.
happy
Loves
birthday.
it.
Loves it.
Loves it. And then I always have to give a little nod to my dad, John Primo. And he would hang out with friends and make them feel really loved and supported, and be a good community member and soccer coach and all the things. So I know he played a role in a lot of people's lives.
Mm.
And
Aw,
my
love
little
that.
"You Are Great and Wonderful" mug, because that was kind of his little catchphrase there towards the end of life, when he was sick with frontotemporal degeneration and ALS and had limited verbal ability. He still always wanted to remind people how great and wonderful they were. He was like a cheerleader till the end. So,
Oh,
um,
beautiful.
this toast to you.
Toast to Don. Okay, now I have to take a sip of water. Wow. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm honored to help
Yeah.
honor Don and Kelly.
Yeah.
Um, and, I really look forward to learning more about them and their impact on your life. And one thing I wanted to pull out from what you said, it really resonated with me, is the fact that like now, looking back from when those losses happened, I mean specifically, with Kelly's loss, like you said that you're at a more, mature state of your life right now where you're able to, like, I guess, process and understand the grief a little
Yeah.
differently. And that
Yeah.
really hit home for me because I almost feel like the older I get, the more I grieve, if that makes sense. Or like it's different, right? The grief is different, but like I have more language and tools to understand what I was going through. And at that time, I didn't. So it almost feels like I re-grieve the loss at different stages of my life, or there'll be certain triggers that happen, and I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. you know? But
Yeah.
that really resonated with me, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with folks tuning in because there might be a certain smell or a certain milestone in your life or a certain it could be something small as a song or whatever. It just really hits you. Um, like sometimes it feels like I'm walking right into a brick wall. It was like, wow, I'm having a really great day. And next thing you know, bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really appreciated that. So I don't know if you want to elaborate that on a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, there's no timeline here, right? And there's no right or wrong way of doing things.
Mm,
So it's really freeing then to say, hey, that happened so long ago. I was in such a different place. I
mm,
was angry. It was a shock. It wasn't, something that I really wanted to linger on
mm,
at the time. And that can be so common, right? There's the shock, there's the we need to get on and do all the tasks and things. So now to come back from a more like mindful, spacious place and be like, I have so much empathy for
mm,
you and what led you to make those choices that ultimately uh, led to the end of your life.
mm,
And I see so many things, right? So in this specific loss, it was substance abuse opioids, right?
mm,
And there is a show, and I'm forgetting the name right now, but watching the show and seeing how those drugs, Oxycontin and things, were marketed and distributed, especially in Appalachian,
mm. I know
Ohio,
you're
where
talking.
I
Mhm,
was, um, just really allowed me to have so much more empathy for what was going on in the brain and so much more awareness around we don't have control over so much, and people are in such pain, and people are doing their best however they can, and that is great that a TV show could like you said, trigger activate those feelings and then allow for some sort of processing so long after the initial event for me.
mhm. Wow. Whoa. I'm just processing. Wow. Yeah, and I forgot the name of the show too. I think it's on Netflix. But my boyfriend and I were watching it and we were like, wow, like this was really pushed and it
Terrible.
was like a party all the time and like I feel like they really preyed on young women too to be
Yeah.
marketers or sellers of the product and it's like, yeah, that's really tough. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
holding space for Kelly. Um
Yeah, breathing through it.
yeah, let's take a deep breath with that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, well, so with that, I mean, as much or as little as you want to share, I'd love to hear more about your grief story and just the impact of, of Don, of Kelly on your life.
Yeah. Thank you. It's funny because it's kind of like in hindsight, I realized that it was always kind of there, right? But yeah, I grew up volunteering in hospice with my grandparents. Like I would feel very comfortable going and sitting and holding hands with people. My grandma would always go pray the rosary with folks.
Wow.
And so from a young age, I was around people, elders who were infirm or with dementia. And when I actually moved to LA, I got a job at an assisted living home and I was teaching seated exercise and doing all the things, hosting my birthday tea parties with these folks. And it was also great until it came a little too close to home.
Mm,
And, with my dad, it really was okay, here's this awesome, incredible human being. And then his personality was changing. And, for folks who aren't familiar with frontotemporal degeneration, that is a type of early onset dementia that Bruce Willis is currently living with. So you kind of can see more out in the world some examples of this, but a lot of people struggle to get the initial diagnosis because it's misdiagnosed as like a midlife crisis or something. And I know we were just like, what the heck is going on? Why is dad behaving this way? This isn't like him. And then once we had the diagnosis, it was pretty harrowing, right? There's not a lot of people that I know who have this or have this experience. And it's different than other dementia. It wasn't like he was losing memories. It was he was being a little more risky, right? He was breaking some rules and being inappropriate socially and all these things that were, awkward to adjust to. And also, my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at a very similar time. So just having two people on both, kind of my maternal grandmother on both sides of my family, struggling with dementia got me really into studying consciousness and mindfulness and the nature of being, and then being present at my dad's deathbed and seeing what a beautiful experience of gathering community and allowing for a pizza party and playing all the music, and anyone wanted to come in and say goodbye could. Like, I was like, this is powerful stuff, and it doesn't always happen that way, right? And we can't predict and we can't coordinate for ourselves, but it definitely felt like he had his advance directive in place so my mom could make the appropriate decisions at the time needed. And then he said, he knew where he wanted us to spread his ashes, all the things, right? So it just was like a beautifully orchestrated, very, very, very sad ending to a great person's life, right? So all the contradictory things at once, right? Holding this joy and this community and this love and this isolation and this fear. And, he also, FTD can also sometimes be combined with ALS. So he had ALS as well. So he was just shrinking away physically, while still being such a lover and such a cheerleader. And yeah, it shook me.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have to take another deep breath for that. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Okay. Let's breathe in. Hold. Exhale. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I can't imagine. I mean, that's so much to be dealing with, right? Because there's like the anticipatory grief, right, before the physical loss happens. But then you also are dealing with other loss or it's like multiple layers of anticipatory grief with your grandmothers, your dad. And then after it happens, you're like, I can only imagine it's like, well, what the hell do I do now? Like, and it goes to show, like, no matter how much intention you put into end of life planning, which is so important and so powerful. And I definitely encourage everyone tuning in to, if you have not started that process, please do that like yesterday. Research, look into it. Everyone's process is going to look different, but really that made me kind of think about, no matter how much of a plan you have in store, right? Like, it's still going to affect you deeply, and like totally alter your reality. And it's funny, I was actually recording another episode yesterday, and on our conversation I had with my guests, we were talking about how after experiencing grief, you have to kind of like reinvent yourself. It's like an entirely new reality that you have to figure out how to live in. It's wow. Just thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. And thank you for being present with it. I know you lost your dad so young,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that's its own experience of all the milestones, all the moments of that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Thank
Dead
you.
Dad's Club.
Dead Dad's Club. What's up? No, sir. Oh man.
No one
You know,
wants to be in it, but we can't help it.
yep. The gang we've never wanted to be initiated in, but here we are.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Thank you so much for calling my father into the space as well. You know, every time I record an episode, I look at him and I'm like, Daddy, you know, I get to meet a new grief friend today. You know, if you get to wherever you are in the other realm, if you get a chance to like meet their family members, like please tell them hi, you know, like, yeah,
yes.
I just,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
I'm guessing that they're probably, my dad loved brewing beer and was a bit of a pusher. So if they have found each other, I think they're probably toasting a beer right now.
Oh yeah, so apparently, I mean, because I didn't, you know, I only have stories mostly of my dad, but I guess his favorite was a 40-ounce Heineken. That was always his
Nice.
jam. So
40.
yeah,
Good for him. He was thirsty.
yeah. And you know, it's so funny too. I mean, like I was really reflecting on this because like I have a dead father. Like I definitely do. And like but when I was I think about 6 or 7, my mom met my stepfather, who I also call dad now.
Yeah.
And I feel like being in grief, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. I feel like being in grief has taught me how to navigate like the in-betweens of life. Like I'm neither here nor there, but I'm everywhere and nowhere at once. You know what I'm saying? And like there were so many of those moments throughout my life where like, okay, I have a dead father, but then I gained a new father in life. Like not that obviously he can never replace my biological father, but what a gift and blessing it is to have two fathers and two dads, you
Yeah.
know, and like I could have grown up fatherless at all, like with no father figure whatsoever. And the fact that I inherited a new dad and his entire family, like it just felt so good to have that. It's a gift and a blessing that I recognize because I know that other family or other people don't always have that experience or have like a good relationship with a stepfather or their family. And like I just really wanted to like honor that. But I don't know, have there been any similar like in between experiences that you've had in life ever since you experienced your losses? I'd love to know.
I mean, so my early 20s, I started working on a show that is still just like in the back of my mind, right? That is probably a musical, and I called it Stuck in the Between Place. And I
Wow.
was writing it while I was still working at the assisted living home, right? And I just was with all these people who were also kind of in transition, right? They were um, there and they were, you know, preparing for death, you know, and it was something that, I mean, that's still kind of like my opus that I'm like
Mhm,
trying to figure out what it looks like and what
mhm,
it will be because yeah, it's absolutely so much of that in between. And you know, we talked about holding two kind of opposing things, and combo emos is what I like to call it when it's
mhm.
like I'm so angry and I feel so happy that this is
Yes.
over. And you know, right, that there's a lot of gray area in grief,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
We learn to not lean on these binaries so
Yep.
much and to be open to um, right? The fact that we can still chat with dad, you know,
Mhm,
and that there is possibility and there is, yeah, a spectrum that we are on. And
mhm,
we are in the dash right now between the dash between our birth date and our death date, right? So
mhm.
everyone is technically in this in between. But yes, I think, you know, from what you've shared and what I've experienced, definitely just like super present to the fact of It's all transition, and it all needs that yes and improvisational spirit in order to move through.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Does that
Wow.
answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's perfect because I feel like literally if you are a griever, it's never either or. It's always yes and or and also. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, right now I'm recording a podcast and this is something I love to do and I'm meeting really dope people like Kat, but like I'm still grieving, you know? Like I cried this morning, but
Yeah.
like I'm happy at the same time. You know, it's like this, yeah, there's just so many, it's just like a spectrum, you know, like it's never either or. So I think this is really good because we're normalizing that. So if
Yeah.
and if anyone tuning in, like if you resonate with this, like please let us know. Comment on YouTube, let us know because I'd love to hear, you know, what kind of comes up for you. Um, but Kat, you mentioned you use different creative modalities to help you process grief and also help others process grief. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because, you know, I definitely feel in the way that the direction that Grief Sense is going and definitely where I want it to go is really to be this safe space for creatives who are grievers.
Mm.
Just because I feel like I really do feel that our grief really helps us live presently, but it also helps our art and the magic we create just that much more powerful and like transformative. I mean, I feel like that. I don't know if you do, but I just really want to know, yeah, like what are some of the creative modalities that you use? And yeah, just talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, great. Yeah. I mean, creativity is such a fun vehicle to explore these feelings when you're ready and when you're open to it. So I personally have, my own creative practice, and I enjoy songwriting and storytelling and letter writing. I have several pen pals, and I'm a snail mail lover, right?
Same.
So yeah. And I definitely have recognized that sometimes the grief is not yet ready to be expressed in a form, and definitely not in something to share with others, right? But, you know, I've got my singing bowl right here behind me. And just like at one point during the pandemic, like stuff was so dark, and I just had to be like, singing along with my singing bowl because I just need to get this out of my lungs and I need to feel it and like up and out of my body, please. That's
That was great. Snap, snap,
Thank
snap.
you. Beautiful. No, so yeah, music as a vehicle, creating playlists, writing. I engage in various different mediums. I personally feel very comfortable performing, so I enjoy doing sort of laughter workshops and improv workshops with folks. I had one uh, in April 2022 that I called rehabilitation, right? It's like
That's
we've
great.
been we've been masked up, we've been behind closed doors, we've been not hanging out for so long, right? And we all are carrying this huge grief of, the 7 million COVID dead and all of this loss and all the other non-life losses around that. So implementing a workshop utilizing all of my favorite games and some laughter yoga, just to see what sticks for people, to be in community around it and kind of outside in, right? So sometimes we just have to like fake the laughter in order to get that going again in ourselves, and
Wow.
uh, just engage our lungs in whatever capacity, whether that's, just humming together as a group. Uh, yeah, I guess I'm not really describing the actual tasks themselves, but really it's like listening to what people enjoy doing.
Mm,
Like, hey, when you're not thinking about the sadness that you're in the midst of. You know, what is something you enjoy doing for fun or relaxation? And then kind of yes anding around that to find the avenue, you know. So some people want to do some grief yoga, some people want to go for a hike, some people want to sing, some people want to bang on drums, you know, some people want to create some sort of very precious moment for their wedding in order to call in those who aren't present, right? It's all these different avenues for finding textures that resonate with you and your authentic expression of your grief.
Wow. Wow. I'm just like, Kat, so cool.
Oh, thank you.
So honored to know you.
Thank you.
That's so awesome. And I just, everything you were saying, I was just like, if only young people, or just if only everyone knew that you don't need to have $1 million or a lot of money or all the resources in the world to help you process your grief. The things that naturally bring you joy is a really wonderful place to start, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like when you were talking, I felt like, man, I feel like she's like really reading like my life as if she had a script of my life right in front of her, because literally my first introduction to all the creative stuff was drumming. Like that was my first music is really, I think, what saved me.
Yeah.
And like, and this is kind of another blessing of inheriting a family after grief, because my stepfather's stepfather was a drummer, and he's half Dutch, half Surinamese. And like he was just the coolest guy. Like, well, he is the coolest guy. Shout out to Frake, that's his name. He had this like really thick accent. He was 6'8". You know, he's just this big guy who loves music, and he really taught me my love for like Prince and Sheila E. and like, yeah, he was just funky, you know, and like really got me into my love of drums. And around that time is when I had like a really big grief moment in my life. Or my best friend, it was me and my sister, our best friend unfortunately took her life. And yeah, I think my family kind of like was like definitely an intervention. Like, what can we do to support Mimi at this time? And lo and behold, the drums, you know, so it was great. And just, yeah, music in general. And then when you said playlists, all my friends know me. Like, whenever people need a playlist, I'm like, I got you. I have 107 playlists made at this point. Like, I literally just do it for fun. I'm like, well, if I'm not doing anything, or even if I'm watching a show, I'm like, let me make a playlist. You know, I already have my funeral playlist ready and locked and loaded to go, because I told my family, I was like, y'all are not going to disrespect the music played at my funeral. Like, y'all going to have what I want played.
I love it. I want to hear it. I want to hear what you want there.
It's probably chaotic. Like, it definitely has a lot of like R&B and like reggaeton and like hip hop, but like some alternative stuff in there. You know, it's just like a whole mix. But that's what grief is, right? It's like everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would
Different.
be your favorite form of expression, if there is one, or do you kind of feel like there isn't? Like, just kind of like whatever you're feeling in the moment, you kind of just go with the flow?
Oh no, I have a total favorite. I love singing. I love singing. It's my favorite color. No, yeah, right. So when after I worked in assisted living, I started working in the music industry in LA, and I was working at a recording studio, right? So I was like helping all these like
Oh,
legit rock stars,
awesome.
uh, and all the incredible staff there. And, you know, it was so hard to be there and like then get a phone call and be like, oh, dad has ALS now. And it's like, okay, cool. I'll keep smiling. Paul McCartney needs something, you know, like it just was like such a weird, like
Mm.
incongruent
It's
space
an
to be
in between, right? That's like
in.
another in
Yeah.
between space. Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Um, Right. And there, working at that studio, I met my spouse, my wonderful husband, Chris Souza, and we started a band together. And so I just really felt like finding my voice through that relationship, through that band, through these opportunities to sing on other people's things. Really, that's my warm and special place, right? And you had mentioned earlier, like once you have a loss, right? Things change and you kind of can't go back, right? So like I felt that sensation, and I wrote a little ditty, for myself that's like, um, be gentle with me, be soft with me. I'm not wearing black, but I'll never go back before morning. Right? The idea that like
Beautiful.
you just can't take it. Thank you. Thank you. Right. I wrote a song while my dad was still sick, and it helped me to put words around this like extremely nebulous feeling of loss and confusion, and fear, right? There's fear around being a daughter of someone who has dementia, right? There is this genetic? Is the like what's gonna happen here? What's all that? So for me, music is like the most immediate to go to, and utilizing my voice is definitely my strongest capacity within that. And the week my dad died, the following week we had his funeral, and I sang at his funeral with Chris, and my friend Lindy joined me up there. And it was just so special to be able to do that, and also really hard. And then I had a show the following weekend, like a musical that I was in back in LA. So I like had to get back across
Oh my
country, and
gosh.
they were like, we can cancel it if you want to. And I'm like, no, this is my joy. Like this, I want to be here for this. My soul needs this. Right. So, yeah, there's kind of that outside in the sense that you can be around creativity and music and stuff, and it can really soothe you and comfort you and bring you the joy that you're needing to elevate yourself out of the darkness, as well as the inside out, where it's, hey, my lungs need to expel this right now, and my gut needs to voice this, and I just open up the channel and let it happen.
Wow. Wow. My mind is like amazing. I was like, I've never felt so seen. Um,
Yeah,
wow.
that's your experience too? You feel that way?
I
Yeah.
do. I do. So after I discovered my love for drumming and music and stuff like that, um, I mean, my dad that raised me, he's very musical, like, and he listened to all genres of music, and he was just not your traditional. I don't know, and it was pretty cool. I have young parents, so like, my mom she's about to turn 45, I think 45 or 46, and my dad's about to turn 49. But like, growing up with young parents was like really cool because like, me and my mom are only 17 years apart, so like, it's just
Wow.
wild to me, but
Yeah.
we were always listening to music really loud on blast. Like the car, there was no such thing as quiet music. Like either
Yeah.
heavy hitting rap or like loud Nirvana, Green Day, like loud merengue or salsa music. Like it was just the best growing up with all that music, and it really, really shaped me. And when I turned, I think it was 16 or 17, I'm going to a drum lesson. I'm in my regular drum lesson, and my drumming instructor's like, Mimi, do you sing? And I was like, why on earth would you ask me that question? Like, what do you like? Literally, I got so awkward. And he's like, something tells me that you sing, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And he's like, well, call your mom right now and tell her you're not leaving this drum lesson until I hear you sing a song. And I was like, okay. So he did not let me leave until I sang a song. And he just gave me some lyrics that he had written down in the tune. And he's like, I want you to sing this. I was like, okay. So I sang it. And he was like, yeah, I want you to sing on my album that I'm working on. And I'm like,
Yes.
Where they do that at? Like, what do you mean, sir? I'm just here for my drum lesson. You know? And so, long story short, yeah, so he got really nurtured my love for singing, and I don't know if I'm the best singer, but I like to sing. I mean, I put on really great shows for the shampoo and conditioner in the shower. Really, yeah.
I
You know?
love it. I
But
love
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I recorded music with him, and he's really close friends with Sheila E, by the way, so I got to like hear her on the phone, so that was really cool.
Cool.
Um, yeah, so music definitely saved my life, and the song that I sing all of the time that it just brings me so much joy is Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. Like, there's just something about that song. It's so healing to me, and I sing it all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say singing and music definitely my fallback. I love producing music. I'm not the best at it, but it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
just yeah.
Right.
So,
Like anything, it's a practice. You just show up and you do it. Yeah.
yep. Yep.
Yeah. I love
Wow,
it.
this is so good.
Singer who can play drums is really badass. Like, can you do it at the same time?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
I
I wish I
don't think
could.
you're
I
impressed.
tried like many times and I was like, I'm just gonna accept my lane and I can do it. That's the only time where it's either or, not yes.
Yeah. 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 I hear you. That would be extremely impressive, but it's
Yeah.
impressive apart as well. And
Yes. Well, you are cool, my friend. You've had quite the journey, I will say. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Well,
thank
I am curious. So, can you tell us about like the work that you do day in and day out? Like, you've had so many great experiences in your life. What kind of led you to do the work that you're doing now? Like, of course, I know you growing
yeah,
up, you've had a lot of exposure to loss and being present
yeah.
in this experience of like honoring death as just a beautiful experience. But what was that moment in your life that made you be like, okay, I really want to take this work to the next level and lead to, what I'm doing today? And of course, tell the people what you do today. Amazing stuff. Like, I'm just blown away. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it was pandemic times, right? Remember that time? Ooh.
The world stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. And of course, that meant no putting on musicals or shows. And, my work in the music industry was non essential, at
Mm,
least for the early months of it. Um, and early on in the pandemic, my grandfather, Grandpa Bill, died. And he, um, he had a lot of comorbidities, but he also had COVID and just kind of uh, getting into the moment of, okay, I guess I'm putting together his Zoom memorial.
mm,
Okay, I guess I'm uh, driving to Ohio to help close his estate right now, right? And kind of
mm,
on this journey to honor him while also still not being able to have his funeral, like the big Catholic event that he would have wanted it to be right away, having all these restrictions was kind of like, okay, I will go towards this, right? I have the time and space to be supportive in this. And he always was like, you are so great with elders and you work well with people with dementia. And it's like beautiful to see. And
mm.
I really think you should be doing this, right?
Wow.
So around the time of his passing, I'm like, okay, maybe this is the time that I pivot and stop being in this world of rock stars and like help the real life rock stars out there who are caregiving, who are grieving, who are going through these transitions or anticipating these transitions for themselves.
Mm,
So I thought long and hard, and I ended up starting death doula training with Going with Grace in August 2020, and then continued to become a grief educator, studying under David Kessler in 2021,
mm,
and just like went to every workshop, every thing that I could learn, became a peer support specialist with a part-time job that I have.
mm,
Not being an expert, not trying to fix things, but knowing how to ask people questions and help guide them and resource them along the way. So that was kind of the germinating seed. And now I'm like fully into running my practice as the Good Grief Doula. And, as a grief doula, I see my role as, providing the non-medical support care around end of life and grief that folks need. And, doing it from a secular place where we can call in creativity and all these other tools that humans have developed throughout the ages. And mindfulness is a really big tool that I love. And I like to attend to the needs of the grieving in the work, so people can do kind of one-on-one grief support work going through that process with me, or just a one-off session of like, hey, I don't know what it's called, the WTF kit. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, can you please ground me, right? And so often the work is normalizing, educating, and witnessing people in their grief, right? Because we don't necessarily have spaces for this. And we don't have people who are as curious as you and I, right? Like that it's like, tell me everything. I want to know all about your person. I want to know how you're feeling. Like, how are your poops? Like anything you want to share, right? Is game. Because really, when I sought grief support for myself, it felt so clinical. It felt so removed from my actual life and not very integrated. So I just kind of wanted to fill in the gaps that I saw.
Yeah, I really love that. Thank you for sharing that. And like, I didn't even know what a grief or death doula was until 2020. After my so wild how many parallels we have. Like I'm kind of getting spooked out at this moment. I'm like, what's happening? Similar, my grandpa Lenny, same around that same time. Like that's really kind of what essentially I didn't know that I was like a doula for him, but that's exactly what it was, and I loved every freaking moment of it. I wish I could like bottle up all of those moments and just look back at them. And I'm kind of grateful I did, because when my grandfather was in hospice, I recorded so many of our conversations, and I still haven't been able to get to that space to like play them back yet. It's really hard for me to hear his voice, and I still have him as my favorites on my phone. So you grief. But like around that time, I think is what made me realize the importance of dignified services, whether that's a funeral or even doula work or even like the clinical work, like similar to you. Like it feels so transactional. Like, dude, you're dealing with a person that is dying and their family has to like, they're grieving, like, and things can just be so robotic and just like lack all this empathy and human compassion. And like, that was such a huge like frustrating point for me. And I'm just like, what can I do to use all the talents that I have, like my creative side. I have an HR background and I've worked in corporate for a while. Like, what can I do to create something really great that can help inspire people to get involved in this work? Because it's like, you don't need to, like, yeah, obviously, yes, it's great. You should definitely have certifications if you're going to be an official death doula, grief doula, but everyone can have experience being a doula. Like, you want to make sure your person is comfortable and has everything they need and they're peaceful before they make that transition. Like, that's one of the most difficult moments that anyone's ever going to experience is death. So what can you do to make it more not about you, about the person, and really dignify them in that way? And I think that's what I've learned about, the work that you're doing, and just like, like, how can we dignify the people that have lived full lives? And like, even look at the funeral industry, and like, I've been to so many services that just were not dignified at all. Like it was kind of like this rushed, put together process. And like I do think in part that's because since our world is so death phobic and we're taught not to deal with our grief or have these taboo conversations, which are not obviously, I feel like since we didn't put in the work to get to know our person on such a deep, deep level like that, there's so many services that are just not dignified, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's our responsibility to change that narrative and to really like give them a dignified ceremony. So I love everything that you're saying too and the work. And I feel like with the services you offer, you help people not only dignify them in one of the most important moments of their lives, but also in kind of helping support them. Hey, how do we create something that's like really representative of this person and like, yeah, like dignify them. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's an ancient practice, right? There were always people
yeah.
who filled these roles in communities that could be present with people for these transitions and support them. And so it's really a continuation of that practice. And sure, yeah, certification and education around it will bolster you.
For sure.
But I really love to say, you know, when sharing tools and gathering new resources, that it's like you are a good grief doula. Like you already have everything you need to provide good loving care for your loved one. Like don't feel like there's some sort of gate or barrier that you have to get through in order to do this. Like
Yeah.
it is within you, and it is, you know, definitely takes so much strength to be a caregiver, to be present with someone, to witness these um, end of life experiences and sometimes see things that you wouldn't want to see, right?
Yeah.
It is the bravest, most beautiful, greatest gift that you can give to someone. So I honor that you did that for your grandpa Lenny.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
And you know, I encourage anyone who's doing it now, like you don't have to have a piece of paper in order to feel like you really did it and you really made an impact and made the world a better place by um, gifting your time and your love to the world in that way.
Beautiful. Love that. Um, Switching gears a bit. I mean, not completely switching.
Uh-huh.
But I saw a video on your Instagram and I recently learned about this probably like on my podcast. Someone had brought it up. I think um do you know Adriana Michelle, the Death Alchemist? Are you familiar with her?
I
I don't know if you.
follow the Death Alchemist,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Yeah, them.
Yeah,
No.
so I had her on the show and so she had first mentioned the Swedish house cleaning.
Oh,
And was
yeah.
like, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
So, I would love for you to talk about it because I know there's a whole show on it, but in your video you said, "Here's a one part y'all don't missed out." So, I want you to spill the tea if you're open to that and just kind of first tell the people what does that even mean and what
Yeah.
was the show missing?
Yeah. Okay. So, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning is a book written by Margareta Magnusson, and it has been developed into a TV show that I think you can watch on Peacock.
Mm,
And essentially, this is a practice in Sweden. I think they call it dondusting.
mm,
Pronunciation is probably incorrect, right? But it is attending to your belongings
mm,
and making a plan for them and kind of downsizing just naturally over time as you are aging, right? And that can be really mindfully gifting things and donating things, as well as, you know, leaving little notes on the bottom underneath tables or things that you want to gift so that everyone knows exactly where they go to, right?
mm,
Um, we don't want to add any trauma or drama to the people who we are leaving behind by not making clear what our wishes for our things are, or you know, having a hoarding situation that is just, you know, a whole other
It's very common too.
Yeah. And it makes sense, right? It's so difficult to look at these things. It's so difficult to deal with them, right? Or the idea of dealing with it is difficult in actual practice,
Mm.
just like a little bit every day and tackling a different room or a different item, really can be done systematically and be really fun.
Mm.
So I've done it with folks and I've downsized and I've prepared homes for sale and we're laughing the whole time, right? And we get to share the memories of, oh, and when this happened, look at this photo and I got this on this trip and it was amazing and all of this, right? There's all this richness to the experience that you don't have when you just leave it with no story and no nothing, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like, wow, that's a lot of work, but it really can be a process that you do over time, very
Mm.
casually. Um, right. I forget exactly what my beef was with the show, but I know it's kind of like the show makes it seem like you gotta get it all done and you gotta get rid of stuff, and there's only three categories of things, right? And the truth is that there's so much more, right? Your electronics and your batteries and your VHSs, these things, if we're trying to be aware of our footprint on our planet, really should be considered well in advance so that it's
Mm.
not just tossed in the dumpster and then leaking into our water and all the things, right? So there is, a little more nuance than you can get on a TV show, but I understand how TV shows are made. So that,
Dramatize everything.
yeah, the nitty gritty isn't always on display, right? But yes, I do have a blog post about that on goodgriefdoula.com/stories if you want to
Check
check
it
it out.
out. Yep. And I never knew that it was this process of like doing it over time. And that's genius because it's like it can be so unbearable like after someone dies and I'm like, dang, what am I supposed to do with all this shit now? Like this is a lot of stuff. And then you don't even want to look at it. You wish you can just like close the door and tuck it away and not even look at it again. But like if it's in a house, you have to like get the house ready for sales, like all of that estate planning. Like it's like a
Yeah,
headache. So I really love the idea of like doing it over time. Like we know, and also normalizing that. Something I'm pulling out from that as well is like not everyone dies at an old age. So even doing that now when we're alive, young and healthy, because we never
yeah,
know when our time is going to
yeah,
come. And I think, yeah, wow.
yeah.
So that's
I,
really,
I try to do it a little bit every year,
yeah,
right?
that's
To
great.
just like comb through and put some things aside for my niece, and
Yeah.
and just have an awareness of that, right? I want to help lighten people's loads and brighten their way
Yeah.
and encourage folks to leave a lighter footprint in whatever way they can.
Love that so
And
much.
their family will be so grateful for it, or
Mm.
their loved ones, whomever they're leaving their items to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many people have like their feng shui in their home is just all stuck because there's that pile of so and so's belongings that they
Yep.
can't get to, right? And so if you need a buddy, invite a buddy over, like get someone their chances are there's a doula in your community or, a cousin or a younger folk in your family that will
Mm.
come and then you don't have to look through it alone, right?
Yes.
And
I
just
love that.
power through because what we're afraid of when we actually turn to it is not as scary and as difficult as
Mm.
we build it up to be in our minds.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. And like as you were talking about that, I was like, wonder if there's a service and I might have to like create if it doesn't exist here where I am in in Hartford, Connecticut, where like, hey, like if there was an older person that recently passed but doesn't have a lot of family near them, like I wonder if there could be like a volunteer
Yeah.
service or a volunteer day where we get some young people together and like help them
Yeah.
out, you know. So I'm gonna do
Yeah.
some digging. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Hmm.
Cool.
So, at the end of every episode, and I feel like, and you're someone I feel like I can talk to for hours and hours and hours. And I'm so grateful that you are in my life now. And like, I really hope you know I'm not a one and done person whatsoever. And like, I
Yeah.
really, and I'm not transactional. And I think grief definitely made me that way. But like, I truly see you as one of my good friends now and hope that we can continue like collaborating and creating magic together. And I'd love to see you one day in LA and, just keep it going. Um, but so this is definitely not the end, but for the end of this episode, we always transition to a creative prompt segment. And, journaling is a huge way or a really great grief home. I call it grief home, but creative outlet to
Mhm.
people who are processing, pain, trauma, right? Grief. But I always like to add a creative twist to it, because it kind of helps you process it differently. So
Yeah.
the prompt that you chose is to describe a particular book, movie, song, or piece of artwork that has helped you process your grief. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd love to know. Put us on.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for saying all of that. And I really feel it too. And it's incredible how many parallels there are. And
Wild,
when you, when
wild.
you said, as we're reaching the end, I like felt a little grief, like, oh my gosh, it's over. Right. I'm
Hey,
just like, I wear my heart like right here. So I just was like, oh, it's getting, oh, it hurts. It's already over. Oh, these endings, they,
yep.
they, they don't get easier.
Yep.
Um, so thank you for this awesome opportunity to talk. And I'm going to end and be like super vulnerable.
Yeah.
This is not something that I've talked about
Mm.
much before, but I think it could resonate and be helpful for people. So I will go ahead and scare myself and do something scary today. Um, and yeah, since I am a creative and I enjoy creating, I just want to share a songwriting experience that I had, which was in 2021. We're still social distancing and whatnot, so a couple of my bandmates and my spouse and I would go and play outdoors, and we were writing some new songs together. And we started writing a song, and it was like so happy and like great vibe. And kind of around that time, I had discovered that we were pregnant.
Mm.
And so I kind of was like, okay, this happy joyous song is like, I don't know if it's gonna be about that, but like early iterations of writing and jamming on it was like, this is so clearly about this, right? The songs kind of tell you what they need to be about. And then fast forward a couple of weeks, and we had experienced pregnancy loss, early pregnancy loss in the first trimester there. And right, just such pain and heartache. And during the pandemic too, right? So I got to go to all those awful appointments completely by myself, isolated,
Wow.
just like so sad that the joy was now tainted by this loss, right? This experience. And so the song kind of took new shape, and I was able to kind of turn the song into the living, existing, concrete thing that is here in the absence of that child, right? So
Wow.
um, it's called Back to One. And, that's like a notion of when you're on set, you shoot something and then everybody goes back to one and you get another take of the same thing, right? So
Mm.
the whole scene unfurls and then you have to go back to the very beginning and pretend none of it happened. And that kind of imagery speaks to the secrecy of having a pregnancy loss where you haven't shared it with anyone. So no one knows that you're also then hurting and experiencing this, right? So um, the lyrics speak to that, and I won't share all of them, but kind of this notion in the chorus is, baby, I'd do anything for you. I wrote a song so I could sing just for you. Um, they say I should let it go. I say let it grow. I'm growing. I'm growing. I'll always grow love for you.
Wow. Definitely snapping and holding space because I got all the goosies as you were reading
Yeah.
that. I was saying that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing. That is so tough. I can't even imagine, like you mentioned, I mean, you such a short time frame, so much loss in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then being in the pandemic and
Yeah. Oh, it
I
wasn't even the end of it.
oh, I can't even like the point you said too about going to appointments alone and isolated. I didn't that's nowhere near my frame of mind at all. And that's an experience I didn't even think about for all the moms or potential
Yeah.
moms out there going to those appointments at such a scary time. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
It
much.
was such a weird,
Wow.
weird time of that, and anyone receiving treatment at that time for chemo or anything. Like you were kind of going a bit more alone. And yeah, I think we're so keen as a culture to move past the pandemic and be like, oh, thank God that's over. And absolutely, I feel that too.
Yeah.
But I do feel the importance of naming those that were lost to COVID and all the kind of complications that people experienced around their rituals, around their funerals, around their appointments, their births, everything
Yeah.
around that, right? Like if we name it, it can lose a little bit of its uh, scariness in our hearts and its hold on us and our anger.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for saying that. And I also just want to acknowledge the fact that you were going through such a difficult time and you were propelled to create something so beautiful. And that to me is so special because that is the power of creativity. That's the power of having a creative outlet to make you realize, like, hey, yeah, like this is a really tough time that we're always going to think about and it's always going to be with us. But how can we give it a new reality or look at it in a certain way that will bring us more peace than harm?
Yeah.
And that was so beautiful. I got so emotional when you were, I'm going to be thinking about this later and probably cry about it later. But I'm just so grateful that you shared that.
Thank
I,
you.
I know it's going to impact a lot of people. And like, also want to acknowledge you did something scary today. That's something new and being vulnerable. I mean, talking about death, grief, and dying and confronting mortality, like you can't have those conversations without being vulnerable, right? Like that's just, point blank period. But then you add in the layer of like getting deep into the grief and like how these experiences really shape our worldview and our experiences. Like, wow. I'm just wowed by you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your great questions and your curiosity around it, right? It's such a gift when we come across someone who is curious and wants to know as opposed to says some little trite thing and is like, oh, so sorry. Next. Okay. Can we talk about something else? So it's a real gift that you are giving to the community to allow people to be heard and to connect with others through this. And, I appreciate you and all the boldness that you are doing and still so young and so much life ahead of you. And like, there's going to be so much goodness because you were brave enough to take this leap and to share this with everyone. Right? And like, bring it on, let it out. I love it. I just cried as well. So you're in very good company, right? You're
Oh,
in good company.
it just feels good to do something that makes you feel alive. And
Yeah.
I never knew that talking about grief and my experiences with loss would make me feel alive, but it does.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I've been able to make sense of the world around me. And the reason why I named this podcast, Grief Sense, like for me, it's more than a podcast. This is my inner lived experience, is this Grief Sense. It's like this intuition that was unlocked in me after people died in my life. And it almost felt like after every single person died, there was this level of, to your point about talking about consciousness earlier, like it felt like that it unlocked this consciousness in me that connected me to another world, another reality, another realm that I know exists. I don't know what it looks like or what, but it's like I feel like even though my family members have died in the physical form, like I'm still connecting with them. And for a long time I didn't know how. I mean, I was still young and I'm still young. I'm still figuring it all out, right? I don't know all the answers, but to your point about being curious, like I just want to explore all the different ways that I can honor my people that have died, because it brings me peace. It makes me feel connected with them, you know. And yeah, I want to keep doing that. I want to help encourage other people to do that, because it can make the grief feel not so overpowering. And I also want to make a note, grief sense is always lowercase, because I feel like grief and death and all of these really big topics, right, are, it can overpower us if we let it, you know. And like while my grief is always going to be a part of me, I'll never change that part of me, but it's not the only aspect of my identity. So I can move with my grief instead of moving against the current. Like, what can life look like if I move with my grief? And I
Yeah.
feel like ever since I made that conscious decision, I feel like beautiful things have happened in my life. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm just going to lean into it and see what happens, because guess what? I could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go with it, and I'm going to be unapologetically me. And yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got, folks.
Yeah. Yes. Well, you are great and wonderful. You're killer. You're so prolific. You are so powerful. You are so honest, and you are a gift. So thank you for sharing your gift and choosing and wanting to talk to me and sharing in that Reimagine event. Hey, if anyone wants to check check out the show, I was like, okay, great. But if you're on this Reimagine event with me, we're gonna get along.
Yes.
Um,
Shout out to
so
Reimagine and the whole team too, because
yeah,
I love what they're doing. I love
yeah,
every bit of what they're doing. And that vigil, I think about it all the time actually, and that because I was at such a pivotal moment in life with everything
yeah,
across the world and Palestine and all the different
yeah,
genocides and so much pain that it kind of felt like the pandemic again, where people just wanted to look away and pretend like this isn't happening, but it's
yeah,
happening and it's affecting
yeah,
all of us. And I took actually a big hiatus from podcasting because my grief, it was too much. The collective grief in the world was triggering my internal grief, and
yeah,
it was a lot. And so what I decided to do was, like, I was holding community vigils for my community just to hold space to talk about what was going on. And that's what I did. And that gave me peace, just to be in community, versus if that was me before the pandemic, I would have never even thought to do that. But
yeah,
grieving in community is the most liberating thing I've ever experienced in my life, because it's like you have people that understand you and they don't even have to say a word, because
yeah,
you just understand, you know?
yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
that vigil really impacted me and just really put a fire under my butt. That was like, nah, girl, you know what you're doing. Just keep leaning in, keep doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. And the more spaces like this that exist, the better it will be, you know? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We heal in relation to others. And
Yeah.
yeah. And so often I hear, I don't want to burden anyone,
Mm,
I don't want to, and you and your grief are not a burden, that
nope.
you are a gift. And when we are brave and vulnerable and open up and show up to these spaces, we see our shared common humanity. And what a gift that is. I look forward to more of that. So hopefully we have less of those spaces where people feel the need to act with aggression and violence and hatred and ignorance. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what a powerful episode. I mean, I'm gonna be beaming off this conversation for the rest of the day and the rest of the week. I already know. Like I just so grateful. Amazing. And what a gift. Maybe that's what we need to name this episode. What a gift.
Yeah. We're finding the gifts.
Yes. But with that, before we wrap up, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they work with you, learn from you, and amplify your amazing work?
Thank you so much, Mimi. If folks would like to check out my work with Good Grief Doula, they can do that at www.goodgriefdoula.com and Instagram and Facebook at Good Grief Doula. My band is Sumo, Sumeau. And yeah, Kat Primeau. I have a lot of stuff online, right? So it depends on what you're curious about, but those are the main avenues. And yeah, maybe on the YouTube video, you could have an up next with that song that I mentioned, and folks who resonate can check that out if they'd like. So
cool.
All the things, right? And it's like we have the rest of our lives to do all these tasks that we are finding for ourselves, but the meaning is there and the confidence is there because we're grounded in this love and these communities. So
amazing. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in for this moving and powerful and creative episode. I'm still caught on the whole rehabilitation. Like I'm so clever, and I'm just like I'm shook. That literally, bro. And it also is like super affirming because I'm actually having a few comedians on the show this season. So that those episodes are gonna be fire. I already know. But your voice also has such a calming, like whatever I was crying about this morning, like doesn't even matter. Like your voice kind of put me at ease and just I could listen to your voice all day. So definitely can't wait to hear your music. But thank you again so much, Kat. Everyone tuning in, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Please let us know your thoughts. Please contact Kat on Instagram. You can contact GriefSense on Instagram as well. We want to know what you thought about our episode. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
GriefSense Familia. That wraps up another episode of the GriefSense podcast. If this resonated with you, please feel free to share with someone who will appreciate it and tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, I'm a firm believer that feedback is a gift. So, I'm just saying, I won't be mad if you decide to leave a review and a rating of your experience on the podcast so far. Also, let's help each other find community in grief, and let's amplify these stories far and wide. Thank you for tuning in. En solidarity y con mucho amor, Mimi.